Hi, I'm Darren Phillips, and welcome to Carolina Self-Defense and Krav Maga. As you have probably already viewed the 3 pillars of self-defense, which include the mindset, and then of course, offense and defense. We're gonna start with a little bit of both. Obviously, when we talk about defense, usually people are thinking blocking and things like that. But we have found that the best defense in the world is just simply not being there when that person arrives or when that fist arrives or anything like that. So we just want to be able to work on movement. So included in that, of course, is if that doesn't work, yes, we need to be able to not get hurt. Okay. So the first one is being difficult to even get to. I don't even want anybody to be able to touch me because I am moving so well. All right, so here are a couple of phrases and terms that you're gonna hear throughout your career here at Carolina Self-Defense. First one is, of course, going to be the very obvious fighting stance. So when we say fighting stance, that literally means I'm in a fight, okay? So one easy way to get into a fighting stance, let's say if you're right-handed, likely that you're going to feel more comfortable with the right hand and the right leg being in the rear, have a little more force in the early days. So I'm going to take a natural step forward with my left foot. Okay, I'm going to come up on the ball of that back foot. For now, I can stretch my hands towards the sky and kind of bring them down so that my fingertips are right out here about eyebrow height. What is that, about 10 inches away from my face, just tucking my chin down. Really, we know that most people want to hit you in the face, so that's the part that I need to protect the most, at least at first. Anyway, I'm going to come in here, and I'm going to be 50-50 balanced on front and left. From here, movement is the main thing that creates space for me. So the way that I move is consistent no matter what. When I move in a north, south, east, west direction. I'm going to step that direction and then allow the back to kind of catch up. I don't want any kind of bounciness to it. That's extra effort if I go anything along those lines. So I step, then I catch up. Even when I go backwards, I use the leg in the direction that I'm going and I step with that first. Step, catch up. Using that same logic, if I move to my left, I step and then catch up. I step and then catch up. I step and I catch up. Now when this becomes more dramatic, oh my gosh, it will not be so much of a step as it would be a dash. Whoa, I'm going backwards. When I'm going forward, I'm driving forward, it's a dash. I'm moving to the side, dash. Dash. So step or dash, it just depends on the situation and how fast I have to move. Always going to keep my hands up. How often do I protect my face? At all times. So I'm in here, stepping back, stepping forward, the side, side. From here, stepping forward, stepping back, stepping left, my left, and stepping right. At any time, I should be able to lift either leg up without having to go. It's a common thing, especially with guys, to be very front heavy down here, and that they're very open for getting their legs tackled because they have no balance to be able to move quickly because their weight is so far forward. So I want to keep this nice and balanced. I should be able to lift up either leg equally. So that's north, west, south, east kind of movement. Of course, I'm not only going to be moving those, I will be moving at angles as well. So a very simple way to get off angle, to not be in front of someone, is to circle. So the stepping is the same. I step and I catch up. I step and I catch up. I step and I catch up. Okay? At no time do my feet get really close together, and certainly I don't want them really far apart. We develop that as a habit because it's very easy to get your feet really close together and even to step too far apart. So I always want to make this tactical. Tactical meaning like I'm in a war right at that moment. Whoa, and I can move and so forth. So circling, okay? Other ways that I can move and get away quickly are to pivot. For instance, let's imagine somebody's trying to grab this leg. Of course, I will use my arms and the structure of my body to help in any way that I can, but I do need to get this target of theirs out of the way. So I can simply pivot. To pivot, I put all of my weight on one side and I bring the target side out of the way. Very simple. Maybe you recognize this from basketball, dribbling, or you can pivot on one foot. One foot stays still and the other one moves. One way that I can exaggerate this movement is to make a small or large step first, which we refer to as a step pivot. So with no step, my pivot is limited to this. It's a circle, right? I would be drawing a circle. If I step pivot, this becomes a larger circle and escapes as a target much more quickly. Step, pivot. So somebody's coming here, whoa, I step, and then I pivot. Pivot, step, pivot. Pivot, step, pivot. Pivoting is extremely important because it creates space very, very quickly. In fact, even here's a bad guy. Even it's a very common exercise that we do where we step away, driving our hips. We call this a hip clear. I'm clearing my hips away from here, stepping and turning my hips into the target with a big step. This is a 180 step pivot, literally 180, because I'm totally going the opposite, looking the opposite direction than what I started. I step, big pivot all the way facing the bad guy, and then stepping away to really, really create space. Very common exercise. Step, pivot, create space. Step, pivot, and create space. Okay? Now you notice that I continue to create structure with my arms. Very, very important. No matter what the space is. If I am uncomfortable with the situation, I will always create a fence. A fence is when I extend my arms out. Is this extended? It is not. This is cautious, but I want my hands out. I would prefer to have my hands up at face height, okay? No matter what the level of discomfort is, because you never know. All right, so the fence, as we define it, will be having my arms extended out, creating at least 2 of my arms' lengths between myself and the bad guy. So this right here would be a good fence. Notice that I also have actually gotten in a modified fighting stance. Is it a fighting stance? Well, the only difference between this and this is just about what my face looks like and what my intent appears to be. So here I'm totally prepared to fight, and the way that I've done this is created a fence, okay? Now, so I go from this neutral stance to a fence, I create space. Notice that I also slightly got off to the side. We call that getting outside the elbows. The idea of getting outside the elbows is so that I improve my position both for offense and defense. Whether it's out to this side here, it makes his outside attack much more vulnerable, it's weaker. It also gives me an advantage from being on the outside. So whether it's to the right or to the left, it may be just dependent upon the scenario, may be dependent upon my choice, one way or the other. I don't want to be square to them. I want to be outside of one elbow at least. Okay? All right, so we've got our stance, our fighting stance. We also have the preemptive position, the structure of what we refer to as the fence. Anytime I'm dealing with something that I'm uncomfortable with, I'm creating space. We have our movement. We have our pivoting. We have our step pivoting. And these are all things that are going to help you create space through movement. Go drill it.